Welcome back to Flint Creek Transport. My name is Justin. Today, this video is going to be a little bit different. This one is going to be on negotiation. So in the last couple weeks, I've been dispatching. Actually, the last maybe week or two here, I've been dispatching, helping out. You know, in the trucking business, you got to make as much as you can on every load. And sometimes you got to negotiate those freight rates. So a lot of our work that we do is preset, or is like, hey, we negotiate a rate beforehand, and then we're just, we're in there. Some customers, we're working for all year long. And it's, that's not really a negotiable rate, or not every load. But what I'm talking about is for dealing with the load board and dealing with brokers on the load board. So if you're an owner operator, or if you book loads off the load board, you want to listen to this video. This one will be a good one for you. So I've been dispatching for, well, let me back up. When I first started, I was kind of the guy that set up working with Internet Truck Stop, Get Loaded back in the day, DAT. There's a couple different ones that we use for our loads. And I originally got set up and working, with different brokers, and we use it more to get loads back, or as a backhaul. I'd say it's a very small part of what we do, but every once in a while we do need the load board. So, I'll pull up Internet Truck Stop and we'll go looking for a load. So I've done that for probably about a solid 10 years. And, usually booking a couple loads a week, sometimes more, sometimes less. It really varies just depending, what's going on. But, and I learned a lot of things. So that's what I want to share with you today is some of the things that I've learned in negotiating freight rates with these brokers. These brokers are very big, and they will try to make as much money as they can. So that's your job, to try to negotiate the best rate possible. I've seen some of these brokers, they're making $400 to $600 to $700. Some of them are well over $1,000 a load, and all they got to do is simply bill it out, whatever, and get the truck lined up. So you got to negotiate with them. Pretty much, it's an understood thing that you negotiate. When you're calling on a load, you're calling about a load on load board, you're going to negotiate that rate. They're going to tell you one thing, but never go off the first rate. I've been on both sides of it. So we also have a landscape supply company, and on that side of it, I've already posted loads on Internet Truck Stop or on some of these places, so that we can have a company come in and haul a load out for us. So I've been on the broker side of it, and I've been on the other side of it, but more so I've been the guy booking the loads instead of, actually brokering loads out. One of the things that I always kept in mind is there's some brokers that can really frustrate you, and especially some of the big ones. They want to be as cheap as possible. But one of the things I always kind of do is never agree to the first rate. Right? So you're going to call about a load, let's say going from Geneva, New York, going to Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and they're going to say, oh, the rate on this load is $1,000. Negotiate that rate. And a lot of times they like to start low because they know you're going to negotiate that rate. So I, start high. And if they ask you where you got to be at, be honest and say where you want to be at. You don't want to shoot off a crazy number, but you can easily go, if they're saying $1,000, you can easily go through, $300, $400 higher. Maybe they split it with you or whatever. You want to look at your deadhead miles, how far you have to go. That plays a big factor in. That also, where you're unloading, that all plays into it too. Don't take the first rate. The second thing is find out before you discuss the rate. Find out and make sure that load, that you have exactly what they want. And this is a big one, because sometimes, you'll be like, I've had already where trucking companies call for a load, right? They want to book this load with me, and I can literally hear them on the phone. They want that load so bad. You can tell that the way they're talking, they want that load. they want to load and go, and especially flatbed loads, because flatbed's a flatbed, right? They're pretty basic loads. So they call up and you can tell they want that load. Obviously, of course, you're not gonna, negotiate with them near as much. With the walk-in floor side of it, I have to be very careful because there's a lot of loads I can't book, and I don't want to just call brokers up and waste their time. When you call, get specific information, find out, exactly where the town is loading, because there's a lot of brokers that they might say Geneva, New York posting, but it's loading, 50 miles away in another town, but they do it just to get calls in. So find out exactly where it's unloading, find out where it's unloading and loading, and also find out, weight, does it need tarped, or, whatever it is, and make sure that you have exactly what they want. And when you can say, hey, I got a driver, he's ready to, he can easily do that load, he can scale the weight, he can tarp, he can do all these different things. Now you have something that they want, all right? And then that is going to help your negotiating power. You got a guy ready to go now. That's always key, is he's ready to go now. He can meet all those requirements. That helps a lot. Because brokers want to get that load done. They want to get that, off their hands and move on to the next load. So again, they might ask you, when they ask me what a rate is, what rate I want, I always shoot high. I always, sometimes I go pretty crazy high because it frustrates me a little bit. I feel they need to be honest. Here's what I'm paying on the load, right? But instead they come up, they'll say, well, what can you do it for? Well, if you're going to ask me what I can do it for, it's going to be a lot. So I usually shoot a pretty high number when they ask me what I can do it for. And then, we start the negotiation. I know freight rates have been super bad, and it's been difficult to book loads sometimes. You call that load, it's gone. And with our walk-in floor trailers, so I can haul van freight in our walk-in floor trailers, but I can't haul food. It's a tarp top trailer, and it's got aluminum floor, and it's only 48 foot. So I can scan down through the load boards, and there's a lot of loads that will not go on that, trailer. So when I call about a load, sometimes the brokers will be like, it needs a 53 foot van trailer, and it's 45,000 pounds. Well, I can scale 45,000 pounds with a 48 foot trailer, but they don't seem to understand that. A broker thinks that a 53 foot trailer can haul more weight than a 48 foot trailer, and that's not how it works. So you sometimes there's some questions you just don't ask. What I always do in a situation when I'm booking freight with our walk-in floors, I don't ask what size trailer they need. I simply ask how many pallets is the load. So a lot of times I'll say, oh, well, it's 14 pallets. Well, great. I can easily haul 14 pallets. I'm not even going to tell them that I have a 48 foot trailer. Yes, I have 53 foot trailers in the yard, but I'm not even going to tell them that that's a 48 foot trailer, because I've had brokers totally like, oh, we can't do that because you can't scale the weight with a 48 foot trailer. That's very frustrating, especially when it's like bagged sand, or it's something that could easily go on a walk-in floor. There's an amazing amount of loads that go to Lowe's, Home Depot, just local companies that are like ag products, sand, mulch, a lot of different things. So that's what we end up, bringing back in, hauling. So the other thing is with negotiating a rate is when you negotiate that rate, the more rapport you have with that broker, the better. So I tell our dispatchers, never burn bridges. Like if you tell a broker you're going to do a load, you do the load. Make sure that it gets done. Even though you might have found a load paying $200 more, never just drop a guy for the more expensive load when you already told the guy you're going to take it. We don't operate like that, because brokers, they know who you are and they will document that, and trust me, it'll come back to bite you. Not that I did it, but it will come back to bite you. The best is if you say you're going to do a load, do a load. And the next time you go to book with that carrier and you do a good job, they're going to be like, oh, I know this guy. He's trustworthy. I might have 2 other companies call him, but I never did business with him. Well, I'm going to use a guy. He did a great job the last time. I'm going to use that guy again. So that's going to give you an edge too in getting that freight rate up. Sometimes it's 50 bucks, sometimes 100 bucks, and sometimes, like I just booked a load with a walk-in floor, a bulk load that come back into Pennsylvania, and they're like, hey, the rate's the rate. That's what we've been getting a move for. What do you do? You know, and you just simply got to decide, do I want to do the load or don't I want to do the load? And, you know, I called the one day, no go. I couldn't get any more money, so I called the next day. You know, this was a couple days out. Called the next day, still no go. So I finally, you know, accepted the fact that they're not going to pay any more for that. Maybe unless something comes up where they got to get their freight moved. I just had to accept the fact that they're not gonna pay any more. So I ended up booking the load, and we're done the load, and hopefully everything goes well. The other thing I want to tell you guys too is we're coming into a time of the year where you can get a lot of money for your trucks. I know freight is off right now, but there's still loads out there that pay well. And as we get into the holiday season, freight always seems to pick up a little bit, and you can always make a little extra money. Nobody wants to run over Thanksgiving, over those holidays, deliver on those weekends, stuff like that. And you know, if you're in the right place at the right time, you can find a decent paying load, and they and make some little extra money. You got to negotiate that rate, and that's when you can see the biggest jump. They might be asking $1,000 to do a certain load, and that's where you can go in and say, listen, I have to bounce. When you say I got to bounce 100 miles over there, and then I have nothing to come back, you know, you can kind of feel them out a little bit, and just to see, you know, how bad they want your truck, or, you know, how desperate they are to get it moved, and then you can negotiate a much bigger rate. These brokers, like I said, remember, they're making at least $300 per load, $400 or $500. I mean, obviously it depends on if it's a $500 load or $1,000 or a $2,000 load, but a lot of these loads, they're making a good chunk of change. They're making a couple $100, and you got to remember that. So get what you can. Like I said, I've been on both sides of it. There's some brokers that are decent to work with. We work with brokers, you know, obviously when it's a broker where, you know, we work with US Express, we work with, I mean, a lot of the big names, and some of them, you know, we do work year after year. They send us the work, and we kind of negotiate a rate in the springtime. We do that work all summer. As it comes in, we just take loads, we get them done. And I don't call and negotiate that load all the time. So that's just kind of a once and done, you know, for the year, and we're good to go. So hopefully this video helps you guys out with negotiating freight rates, because, you know, the trucking industry is hard, and, you know, if you want to be successful, you have to negotiate. Never accept the first rate. Always ask. It never hurts to ask. And when they ask you, what can you do it for? Remember, after you name a price, you can't continue to go up. All right? So you want to go with a high rate and maybe meet in the middle. So they're going to be like, oh, I can't do it for $1,700. You know, I was at $1,400, but I can meet you in the middle at $1,500, or I can meet you at $1,550 or whatever. And that's when you can negotiate down instead. So never start too low. Always start a little bit high and then come down. And sometimes the brokers, like, you can say, oh, I'll do it for $1,800, and they're originally asking $1,200, and, you know, boom, they take you up, and you get to do the load. It varies. Hopefully that helps you guys. Don't be afraid. If you got ideas and tips, leave them in the comments below, and I'd love to read how you guys negotiate rates with brokers, and hopefully maybe I can learn something too. All right, guys, thank you for watching, and hope you enjoyed the video. We'll see you in the next one. Peace out.